Why didn't they teach this history in school? Meet Bayard Rustin, mentor to Martin Luther King Jr. in the practice of nonviolence and a key organizer of the 1963 March on Washington. But you may have never heard of him because he was gay. Bayard was raised by his Quaker grandmother, Julia Rustin, in Westchester, Pennsylvania. She was a member of the NAACP and opened her home to black leaders like W.E.B. Du Bois, James Weldon Johnson, and Mary McLeod. It's no mystery why he would grow up to be an activist. He moved to Harlem and joined the anti-war effort and Communist Party, but left for the more pacifist Fellowship of Reconciliation and co-founded the Congress of Racial Equality. In 1943, he was sent to federal prison for 3 years for refusing to register for the draft. But not even prison could extinguish his fiery spirit. He used his time inside to organize his fellow inmates, agitating against the prison's segregationist policies. After he was freed in 1947, he became a leader in FOR and went to California to defend the property of over 120,000 Japanese Americans who had been imprisoned in internment camps by the US government. He traveled to colonized countries in Africa and Asia to advocate for pacifism, and to India to learn Gandhi's methods of nonviolent protest. The same year he was released from prison, Rustin was arrested again, along with other participants of CORE's Journey of Reconciliation, for testing a Supreme Court ruling by sitting in front of the bus. At one point, an arresting officer grew frustrated by Rustin's composure, telling him, "N-word, you're supposed to be scared when you come in here." But Bayard simply responded, "I am fortified by truth, justice, and Christ. There is no need to fear." He spent 30 days on a chain gang as punishment, but his bravery helped provide a model for the Freedom Rides of 1961. Even though Bayard Rustin remained fearless in the face of racism and homophobia, his identity as a gay man became an issue among his activist colleagues after being imprisoned yet again in 1953 for engaging in consensual sex with men. When the news of his lewd conduct arrest went public, he was pressured to resign from FOR out of fear he would cause damage to the group's reputation. This situation would repeat itself several times throughout Rustin's life. Homophobic prejudice gave others an excuse to sideline him, disregard his talents, or cut him out entirely. In 1956, the NAACP objected to Rustin's inclusion in a trip to Montgomery to school black Southern leaders, but he went anyway. There, he led workshops for the Montgomery Improvement Association, advising members in the practice of nonviolence. Among those he advised was Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. It was Rustin who convinced Dr. King to give up his stockpile of defensive firearms, after pointing out the contradictions of preaching nonviolence while being armed to the teeth. After a black reporter threatened to publish an expose on Rustin's sexuality and past ties to communism, he had to be smuggled out of Alabama in the trunk of a car. Dr. King felt Rustin's knowledge and political prowess outweighed any potential controversies, but other MIA members disagreed, and he was forced to cheer on the Montgomery bus boycotts from his apartment in Harlem, New York. But Rustin would have the last laugh. Some of those same leaders who rejected him would later seek his help in organizing. Rustin was recruited by the Big Six civil rights organizations during the planning stages for the 1963 March on Washington, and expanded the focus to jobs and freedom. Rustin's knowledge and experience put the rest of the group to shame. As president of the Student Nonviolent Coordinating Committee, John Lewis later recalled, "This was going to be a massively complex undertaking, and there was no one more able to pull it together than Bayard Rustin." Still, people such as Roy Wilkins, the executive secretary of the NAACP, protested Rustin's inclusion in the event for being gay. Rustin got to work and spent 7 weeks organizing every detail of that historic march that would see 250,000 people peacefully assemble on the National Mall. Despite his efforts, Bayard Rustin was never publicly named March Director, and was instead identified as a deputy. Years later, Bayard went on to rally with Dr. King and nearly 1,000 Memphis sanitation workers in the 1968 I Am a Man strike. The strike lasted from February 12th to April 16th, but on April 4th, Dr. King was shot and killed outside of his hotel in Memphis. When asked to comment on the assassination, Bayard Rustin was unable to hold back his tears and said, "It is up to us, the living, the black and white, to realize Dr. King's dream." Bayard Rustin died on April 24, 1987, and on November 30th of 2013, Obama posthumously awarded him the Presidential Medal of Freedom. Bayard Rustin played a historical role in the battle for human rights, but he was almost excluded because he was different. His story shows us that diversity is a strength and not a weakness, which makes you wonder,